Welcome to the Midnight Narrator, where the boundaries between the known and the unknown are thin, and the whispers of the past haunt our present. Tonight's chilling story, The Unseen Audience, takes us into the heart of a mysterious building, where the price of ignorance is paid in fear. What happens when we ignore the signs, sign a lease we don't understand, and move into a place that holds more than just memories? Sometimes the most dangerous bargains are the ones we don't even realize we've made. Ready to unlock the secrets that linger in the shadows? Alara had warned me about the bargain apartment. Too good to be true, she'd said. But I, ever the stubborn one, had dismissed her concerns. Now, surrounded by unpacked boxes and the lingering smell of stale dust, I felt a pang of regret. Moving day had been a solo endeavor. By late afternoon, exhaustion had settled deep in my bones. I collapsed onto the futon, the only piece of furniture I'd managed to wrestle into the cramped space, and stared at the water stains blooming across the ceiling. A sharp rap at the door jolted me. Annoyance flickered through me. I dragged myself upright and opened the door a crack. Two figures stood in the hallway. One, a young woman with vibrant purple hair styled in intricate braids, grinned widely. The other, a taller figure shrouded in a dark hoodie, remained partially obscured in the shadows. "Hey there," the braided woman said, her voice bright and energetic. "New neighbor, right?" I leaned against the doorframe, exhaustion overriding any sense of politeness. "Yeah," I mumbled. "Awesome," she exclaimed, pushing the door open further and stepping inside. The hooded figure followed, moving with a quiet grace. The braided woman, who introduced herself as Lyra, began examining the few items I'd unpacked. She picked up a small, hand-painted wooden bird from a box. "My aunt made this," I said, a hint of defensiveness in my voice. "It's beautiful," Lyra replied, turning it over in her hands. "Have they told you about the agreement?" the hooded figure asked, their voice a low murmur. They finally pulled back the hood, revealing a young man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. He introduced himself as Kyle. "Give her a break, Kale," Lyra chided. "We haven't even introduced ourselves properly." I blinked, bewildered by their casual intrusion and cryptic words. I hadn't even found the light switch yet, and these strangers were already discussing mysterious agreements. I just wanted a shower and some sleep. "I'm Zephyr," I said, finally offering my name. Kale sat on the edge of the futon beside me. "Did the agent tell you about the arrangement?" "Arrangement?" I repeated, my brow furrowing. I knew nothing of any arrangement. I'd signed the lease after a cursory glance. The agent had been a hurried, elderly man with a perpetually worried expression. I hadn't been inclined to ask too many questions, especially given the remarkably low rent. Lyra giggled nervously. "Where are you moving from?" I ignored her, focusing on Kale. "What arrangement?" Kale gave a strange, almost unsettling smile, a flicker of something dark in his blue eyes. Lyra sighed dramatically. "Every night," Kale began, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "something happens in this building. Something unusual." "Like what?" I asked, finally intrigued. "A melody," Kyle said, his voice taking on a hypnotic quality. "A haunting melody drifts through the halls. It changes every night. Sometimes joyful, sometimes sorrowful, but always compelling." He paused, glancing out the window at the darkening street. "It begins at a different hour each night," Lyra added softly. "We never know when it will start." "And we aren't supposed to interfere," Kale finished, his gaze returning to me. "The building," he said, "demanded a certain respect, and those who disrespected it paid the price." I scoffed. "Interfere with what?" Lyra shrugged sadly. "You'll see." That night, as promised, they returned, bringing two other neighbors. One, a muscular man named Silas, wore a silver chain with a wolf's tooth pendant. The other, a smaller, nervous man named Finian, fidgeted constantly. Lyra carried a bottle of cider and some snacks. They all sat on the floor by the window, motioning for me to join them. I sat between Silas and Lyra. "Do you all live here?" I asked, accepting the offered cider. "Yeah," Silas replied, a forced smile on his face. "This building is unique." "It's where they put us," Lyra corrected, lighting a cigarette. "She has theories," Finian mumbled. "They're not theories," Lyra snapped. "Look at the other buildings. Older residents next door, families across the street. We're the only young adults here." "Stop," Finian pleaded. "You'll frighten Zephyr." "I'm not frightened," I lied. We passed the cider around. Silas told stories of his travels, while Lyra and Finian bickered good-naturedly. I felt a sense of belonging I hadn't expected. Then, it began. A low, pulsing hum vibrated through the building, originating from no discernible source. It grew steadily louder, resonating in my chest. Then a voice, faint at first, pierced the hum. "I'm lost. Please. I'm so lost." I leaned towards the window. A figure stumbled down the street below, their form indistinct in the dim light. They wore tattered clothing and moved with an unnatural gait. "Help me," the voice pleaded, growing louder. I turned to the others, my heart pounding. "What is happening?" Lyra touched my arm gently. "Just don't look." I pulled away, my curiosity overriding my fear. I had to see. The figure stopped directly below our window. They tilted their head back as if looking directly at me, though I couldn't make out any features. "I'm lost. Help me find my way." The voice whimpered, then erupted into a chilling, inhuman shriek. It was a sound of pure agony, a sound that burrowed into my bones. I recoiled from the window, stumbling backward. "What was that?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "We don't know," Lyra replied, her eyes fixed on Silas, who was now visibly shaking. Finian held his arm tightly. "We just know the agreement." "What happens if you break it?" I asked. Finian looked at Silas, then back at me. "A few months ago," he said quietly, "it happened to Silas's friend, Anya." "She insisted on helping," Lyra added, her voice barely above a whisper. "She went outside. She never came back." I swallowed, the lump in my throat making it hard to breathe. The screaming outside faded, moving further down the street. "Why doesn't anyone leave?" I asked. Finian shrugged. "Some can't afford to. Others, they just don't want to know. There's an NDA in the lease. No one talks about it." I frowned, vaguely recalling some fine print in the lease agreement. Had I really signed a non-disclosure agreement without realizing its implications? I retreated to my futon, needing time to process what I had witnessed. The others left quietly. Night after night, the terrifying performances continued. Some nights it was disembodied whispers. Other nights it was the sound of dragging chains. Each event was more disturbing than the last, etching themselves into my memory. One night, a loud alarm, unlike the phone alerts, blared through the building, accompanied by flashing red lights outside. I didn't dare look. I buried my head under the pillow, trying to block out the sounds. Lyra developed a theory. We were all part of some twisted experiment, a government game, perhaps even a betting pool. She pointed out hidden cameras everywhere, though I never saw them. I spent most of my time with Finian. We would sit on the steps, watching the street. The neighborhood, so sinister at night, was vibrant and normal during the day. Then, it was Lyra's birthday. We celebrated with cake and drinks. The atmosphere was light, almost normal. We went to a few bars, laughing and dancing. For a brief moment, I almost forgot about the nightly horrors. At the third bar, we squeezed into a photo booth. Lyra pulled me back as the others exited. "You didn't get me a present," she whispered, her breath warm on my face. Before I could respond, she kissed me. It was a pleasant distraction, until Silas found us, his face etched with worry. He showed me his phone. 1:47 a.m. The usual time for the nightly event was approaching. We found the others outside, smoking nervously. The drive back was tense. Just as we rounded the final corner, the alarms on our phones blared. "Do not interfere." A figure stumbled down the street. "Help me," a voice cried. Silas froze. "Shannon," he whispered. The figure drew closer. It was a young woman with strawberry blonde hair, the same woman from Silas' phone background, Anya. "Silas, don't," Finian pleaded. "That's not her." But Silas was already out of the car. The figure turned, revealing empty eye sockets, the face streaked with gore. It didn't charge Silas. Instead, it recoiled, flailing its arms as if warding off an unseen attacker. A piercing alarm, different from the phone alerts, blared, and the streetlights flashed red. Finian slammed the car into reverse, tires screeching. As we sped away, I glanced back. A dark van pulled around the corner. Then, nothing. The following weeks were a blur. We barely spoke. We tried the police, but they dismissed our claims. Whatever was happening was beyond our understanding. I decided to move back in with my family, despite their disapproval. Last night, I heard Silas's voice outside my window crying, pleading for help. I didn't interfere. Years later, while sorting through old belongings, I found a worn notebook. Zephyr's Musings was written on the cover. I opened it and found an entry. "Why does my parent judge me? They don't understand my art. Communication is impossible. I feel trapped. The music in my head. They call it noise." Another entry read, "I met Corvus. He offered a way out. He says it will solve everything. He understands the music. Then, Corvus and I are planning. The obstacle must be removed. We almost got caught today. They suspect something." Later, heavily underlined, "Resolution." 2 sketches followed. One showed a figure by a window, pushing another figure out. The second sketch showed the first figure alone, looking down. The figure in both sketches bore a striking resemblance to me. Then, Corvus came. We finalized everything. We were almost caught. He has what we need. The music will be free. Finally, it didn't work. Corvus is gone. The music is still trapped. Why didn't they see? Why didn't they understand? That was the last entry. I never knew Zephyr harbored such dark thoughts. I never knew about Corvus. The music, it was always just a noise to me. I never understood. I confronted Zephyr. "Did I ever hurt you?" "No," they said, a chilling smile spreading across their face. "Neither did Alara." I asked, my voice trembling. "If I found another notebook, would it explain what happened to her?" "Yes." Zephyr picked up their bag and left. We haven't spoken since. I still question if it was my fault, if I could have prevented any of this. I still don't understand my own child. The music, it continues in my head. A constant low hum, sometimes rising to a crescendo of agony, just like the sounds from the street. I hear it now even as I write this. It's never truly silent. It never stops. And I know, with chilling certainty, that it never will. And that's the end of the unseen audience. A new beginning turned into a nightmare, where the echoes of unspoken rules and haunting melodies become the soundtrack of our darkest fears. Zephyr's journey ended with more questions than answers, and as the music plays on, we're left wondering, are we ever truly free from the ghosts of our past? If tonight's story sent a chill down your spine, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more spine-tingling tales. Until next time, remember, sometimes the silence between the notes is where the most terrifying truths are hidden. This is the Midnight Narrator, and we'll be waiting, just behind the melody.